there are podcasts that just start with like in the middle of a conversation, and I've kind of enjoyed that. Uh, and we were just talking as you clicked the button a
Yes.
little about the difference between vibe coding and AI assisted programming. And you were saying in this project that we're going to talk about today that you were looking at like the code that was produced and then noticing a lot of duplication and that it was kind of sloppy and then giving guidance on how to like factor that out. And I would say that is to me AI assisted programming instead of vibe coding, where vibe coding is like you're not even looking at the code.
It's
Uh,
like you let it go off, right? You just say, hey, this is what I want. I come back in
yeah,
5 minutes or however how long that takes and look if it's working, and if not, we have a
yeah,
conversation.
yeah. But it's like that in that way, you're only looking at the output, like what the code turns into, and then vibing on that, and then like using a response to that to try to change the code, but you're not looking at the code. And in this case, what you were describing is like was specifically CSS, right? So
Yeah. And
yeah,
it feels a little bit like pair programming while AI is in
yeah,
the driver's seat and you are like the pilot looking at it. It's like, okay, no, we should like change this and let's create a file here and do
yeah.
something.
So this is well, not to start with all the thought leadership on in this space, but so the thing that this reminded me of, because you were talking about how you noticed it was doing inline styles and duplicating them everywhere across components when you
Yes.
wanted like
It,
classes, style classes that would be applied so that you know the code isn't repeated. So like this is in the first part like a good case for cursor rules or prompting or things like that. Or in your case, what's the Windsurf file called? Like Windsurf rules or
Windsurf
something?
rules,
Okay,
probably.
something like that. So that this is where it's really good to have like in your project something that describes like stylistic things, et cetera, et cetera. Um, but then on top of that, okay, so I saw a spicy take recently that like template starters are dead, which is to say like, well, like our honk templates. And
No.
like someone was like, why would you even use a template? You can just have an AI spin it all up. I think that is an incorrect take for two
I
reasons.
also I also think
Yeah,
so, but we will jump into how I built this thing because like that's what I used, a template, and I started from
yeah,
there with the AI, and that was way better than just let it go off. So
yeah.
I don't know.
And
So
so there's like very decent research on this, which I don't think they're like well adopted terms. I should find the blog. I don't have it near me. Dang it. I'm not gonna look it up right now. Maybe I can put it in the notes. Do we have show notes? I guess we don't. Uh,
but we have we have a description, so we can put links in the description
yeah. Okay.
afterwards.
Well,
So
yeah, we can
we
put
can put the
links.
things we're talk
Uh,
we're
I
talking
loved
about.
there was a term from a post. It kind of broke down the different ways that LLMs get like too much context or conflicting context can overwhelm an LLM. And there are a couple of different pieces of research from Anthropic and other places about how like uh, LLMs operate better with like well-structured summaries instead of this like iterative thing where you might be changing directions a lot. So like the longer your context becomes and the more that it like pings around, the more liable the LLM is to get confused and then produce outputs that aren't as good. And I think what this is a very long explanation of why I think templates are good because templates set a precedent. And I've noticed that like if you are doing AI system programming or even vibe coding in a code base that's like well structured, has clear patterns, the LLM picks up on that and produces more code like in accordance with those patterns. Whereas if it's like layers and layers of confused LLM code, it's you're gonna hit more issues. So yeah, that's a very long. Hello, welcome to Honk Out, everyone.
Yoo-hoo. Yes. Maybe let's talk about like I bring my screen to the stage and wait, I don't want the Astro here, but this is the website that I've coded with AI as an assistant. And I don't know, maybe we can, I like to share how I did that, and also show you the code afterwards, because I'm definitely not a front-end engineer. I'm not knowing the framework. I built this with Astro and Cloudflare, but I'm also not an Astro expert. So it's interesting to see if you have any suggestions. Well, maybe we can't go that deep into the code base, but I'm also walking through the bits and pieces, and I think it would be interesting to understand how you normally would approach those. So maybe then we have two different approaches by the end, or maybe you also agree. For everyone who wants to know what wipe summer is, and you said maybe the term wipe is already outdated, or like it's boring by now.
Saturated. It's just it's
Saturated.
used
Yeah.
so much, but yeah, I don't think it's going anywhere. I think we're strictly we're in vibe, the year of vibes.
Yeah.
Don't
So,
quote me
but
on that. That's not great.
But Wipe Summer will be hosted from the 30th of July to the 27th of August. So it's around a month, 4 weeks, 4 wipe coding challenges. You can win for each challenge. We have some amazing partners that we are onboarding the next weeks. We already know that in the week 3, 11 labs will join.
Yeah.
So, and the prices also needs to be finalized. But the ideal, or the in that way, if you solve a challenge, if you win the challenge, you get a challenge prize. But also, don't worry if you don't win the challenge prize. The idea would be we also have a rewarding system. So depending how many challenges you solve, you get by the end a super cool swag bag that we send your way. And yeah, if you want more updates, it's in our Discord, and we have the Wipe Summer channel there. And that's basically the idea about the event. And let's get into the landing page and how we designed it. And first I thought, hey, let's try CodeGen, like the tool that we built at Fiberplane, because I wanted to do it on Cloudflare. I knew already.
No.
Yes. I knew already that it is not optimized for building front-end stuff. But yeah, there's the arrow.
Oh,
Which
okay. Well, that's
let
something to
me.
look into. I should look in our logs. I'm wondering if we deployed something new that breaks old chats. No. Okay.
But so here I prompted it before, but like, I said, can you generate me a landing page with Cloudflare and Astro? Because I figured out already I want to use Astro, or well, I didn't know if I did that initially, but this is like for the stream, something similar was in there. And basically our nice agent tells me that it's specified in building APIs and MCP servers. I'm wondering, Brad, I think that's on purpose, right? So that it's not going off and creates me some weird stuff it's not really trained for, or what was the thinking around that?
Yeah, basically scope. It's in the prompt that tells it, hey, focus on data APIs, and a little bit of the logic behind that is there's already a lot of tools for building front ends and full stack things, and we want to make this thing shine in a bit more like data centric applications, and so you can kind of coax it, I would imagine,
Could I
to
get very angry at it and say, no, I don't care, build it? No.
yeah, you could do that, and then like I think I've done this a little bit. If you do need to render some HTML, so like right now I'm working on auth for the generated apps, so some like standardized patterns to have auth. And typically for auth, you do need to render some UI, like a button that initiates a login flow or things like that, even if it's part of a broader auth flow of some kind. So you can just render, you can tell it to render HTML from a Hono handler. You can give it an example, but I think it actually, we have most of the Hono docs in there already. So, and I think it's in the LLM's training data. So you can get it to write some small front end like that. But for a more complicated front end, you're looking at just a much more complex like build process when we go to deploy. We need to wire up static assets in the right way, and there's this explosion of complexity. So yeah, we kind of see the like the realm of data APIs or code gen and auto deployed data APIs is a little underserved, and that's what we're focusing on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And now I'll let you guess because, well, I do two things at the same time. I decided that I wanted to use Cloudflare because we partner up with Cloudflare on this event. So it makes sense to have a landing page on Cloudflare. So I looked into the way how I want to build the architecture, and I also looked into the way how it could be designed. Any guesses which design or which front-end tool I used to vibe code my first initial idea around the page?
First initial idea with
The
Cloudflare
initial, not with Cloudflare, only the design, only the front-end part. Any tool that comes to your mind that I might have asked.
is
Sorry,
the
it's
one that's in the title of the stream.
no, it's not in the title. No, it's not.
It's not
Sorry,
Astro.
maybe that. No, it's.
I thought you were
Sorry.
just like, I thought you were just asking me like, yeah, okay. Well,
No, sorry. Maybe the question was wrong asked. Sorry. I mean, like okay. So the next vibe coding tool I was asking is basically V0. So
sorry, tool. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
like,
Mhm.
I was just like, hey, this is my plan. I want to create this website and give me an outline because I'm personally not a designer. I have no idea how to put those things. And
Yeah,
I have to say, I played around with it. I was not super happy with the design outcome. So multiple iterations. What it helped me with, I would say, is the structure. So how to structure the landing page, because you would see a lot
yeah,
of the things that I just showed are still in here. But I wanted to have a basic idea how a layout could look like. I hope for a little bit better, like a little bit more of a design implementation already. Luckily, we have a designer in our company who is way better in thinking around those things, I think. But that gave me a good idea. But I didn't take this code because I knew already it will be Cloudflare. Although you can migrate those projects, the Next.js ones,
yeah,
to Cloudflare. I was thinking this might be not the right, that's too complicated.
yeah.
So I went on the second thing I did is I went to Cloudflare Pages, but Cloudflare Pages, it still exists, but it definitely says here we recommend using Cloudflare Workers for new
Oh, well, look at
projects.
that
So I was
sorry,
like,
look at that sparkle. Look in the sidebar. They have a migrate to
ooh.
workers with an animated sparkle. That's nice. I like that.
So I was also thinking, no, I don't want to build pages and to migrate to workers, whatever. So it will be workers. And then on workers, I looked up what can I do. And there are some framework guides basically for the front end side of things. And I choose Astro for multiple, I don't know, for multiple reasons. I think first we built already our doc site with Astro, so I was kind of familiar with it. So I thought that could be handy. I wanted something simple. I wanted something quick. And as far as I understand, the nice thing is it doesn't render that much JavaScript, or it's rendered during build time. So it also works with the island architecture, with the idea only to render the interactive JavaScript if really needed.
Yeah.
And then I had two possible approaches. I could start with the starter framework or starter template that Cloudflare provides, or Astro, also handy enough, has a landing page. So I think that are the two templates.
I have to say, not to interrupt, but so like our Honc docs are actually built on Cloudflare Pages. I was not up to date on the fact that there were like templates for building Astro sites with workers and static assets. So that's really cool. I just learned something. And yeah, all right, cool.
Cool. Happy to, well, I don't know. Yeah, I think I also have I think I recently saw someone opening in the CLI the templates, and I saw a bunch of new templates in there, and that's why I was looking back to the docs. But yeah, and I choose, I made my life simple, I would say. I choose the Cloudflare starter. This project has way more in there, but I went with the simple plain thing that is on Cloudflare. It is not really designed to be a a landing page, but I was basically also referring to this project back and forth to see how to combine it. And that's how I ended up doing this in my IDE. And the nice thing is, because I used the Cloudflare starter, that I could immediately also deploy and have the version deployed, work on the iterate really fast. Because I was thinking, maybe if I start with the Astro landing page, then I have to, like, what the word sprinkle in Cloudflare. I don't know if that is easy or not. I was like, I take the approach where I have Astro and Cloudflare together.
Real quick, we have a question, which was, does Cloudflare also need Wrangler? From Budok. So yes and no. Wrangler is the CLI tool. And so if you want to deploy to Cloudflare, Wrangler, you're going to inevitably use Wrangler. Technically, you don't need it. You can, because Wrangler under the hood just wrangles, does all of the necessary calls to the Cloudflare API with your credentials to deploy something. And then it's also under the hood, it bundles everything for you. So it uses ES build, if you're familiar with that, to bundle the application, takes that bundle, and then it sends it to the Cloudflare API to deploy it. There is also a Vite plugin, which does the bundling, but at the end of the day, I think Wrangler is still doing the deploys. So wiring up all the resources and deploying the bundle. So yeah, I would say Cloudflare does not technically need Wrangler, but you want Wrangler. Yeah. You're welcome. Thanks for saying thank you for the description.
Yeah, thanks. And I just moved now to Windsurf because that was my partner in crime for building this. And yeah, I started basically with telling it what to build, and I started with the hero Astro, so I knew already from the starter template from Astro that a hero Astro will be needed, and from there I started with the elements. And
I'm sorry, Nella, I need you to install the Astro extension or something. There's no syntax highlighting.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry. This was out of scope. You gotta try. You can trust it. You can trust it. I promise. I'll take the fall if you can't trust Astro. I'll die on that hill.
Perfect. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Thank you.
You're happy now.
Yeah. All right.
Heart attack at your morning hours. Like, oh my God, she is working. Oh my God. But I wanted to tell you, because normally I'm the one working without a linter, but this time I have a linter.
Wow. All right. See, this is like my first. This is utterly, looking back, this is just very crazy to me. Sorry, we're gonna do. This is supposed to be a short live stream. We're making it a long one because I drank much coffee. Beginning of my career, 2 weeks into it. Okay, well, even before that. So 3 years before I actually got a job as a software person, I've been slowly teaching myself stuff. And I never used syntax highlighting for 2.5 years of kind of tinkering on my own. And then 2 weeks into my first internship, it was a friend of the company, not actually my boss or anything, was just like, oh my God. He just looked at my setup. He's like, what? Why is it's all the same color? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I'll make it work. Yeah, eventually I got syntax highlighting, and now when I don't see things syntax highlighting, it's one of those things. I just flashed back to that. Thank you for going down memory lane with me.
That's okay. Now I have syntax highlighting, and I do agree. Now it looks way better. I was not really honestly. Maybe that was you, I was you, that time back. I don't know, because I was also like, yeah, this is okay. I mean,
yeah,
I can
exactly.
work with that.
You can work around it. Yep. All right.
But
okay.
yeah, now from here it gets very boring, I would say, because I kind of knew the components I want to have in there, and then I started working together with Windsurf, because I'm definitely not a CSS expert, and I was like, hey, I want this heading, I want the subtitle, I want a button. The button should be whatever color. And it was then basically a back and forth with our designer as well, because I started first with the design I showed you from V0. Once our designer saw it, he got a heart attack, I guess. Like, that's okay. But then he started giving me some, like, more directions around the fonts, around the styling elements. And then, I could go easily in and work on the structure. And the one thing I realized is, and you said that in the beginning, where I wanted to change fonts in the beginning, it would have created inside my components here in the CSS H2 tags, but it would have done this for all the different components. And I looked at the changes and I was like, this feels not right. And that's where I went back to the Astro docs to read, hey, what would you do in Astro? And Astro basically says, hey, you should have like a global CSS where you define those things. And then with that, I ended up doing this and told Windsurf basically, hey, can you just I didn't accept the changes, but I was like, hey, can we do this in this global CSS file? That worked better. And that was my general experience, that sometimes you have to clean up code because there might be duplications with it if you just go blindly around those stylings. And I'm sure there might be still some stuff that you would properly clean up. As I said, it might not be perfect. But I'm quite...
real quick, two things. One tiny thing that I loved the dotted font. And so if people are looking at the code, that at the root element where there is a CSS variable on line 4 called font heading, and it is dotto, comma sans serif. So I thought that just looked really cool. If you go to the website, vibesummer.honc.dev, let's see here, scroll. Yeah, that's it. I think that's it.
Yes.
Yeah. That like kind of, I just thought it looked great. And then like a side note on the website in general is that I just like, it feels vibe coded, but in a good way. And I feel like, I don't know, it feels very like thematically consistent, because it's got this like splotchiness and it's a little bit, I don't know, I liked it. Then the other thing, I figured we can, because we're just making this a long stream now, I'm so sorry. Can you look up how to add, so as you were describing like what happened with the CSS, I was like, okay, this like an Astro setup was just weird enough for the Windsurf agent to not be able to know how to do that pattern, right? So like Astro has a specific pattern for adding global CSS, blah, blah, blah. So can you look up how to add like a Windsurf, like global Windsurf config, like cursor rules? And okay, Codium global rules, dot Windsurf rules.
Here. No.
Yeah.
Where do you see
at the project
Windsurf,
root?
Yeah. So.
Oh wait, this is an AI overview, so hopefully it's not hallucinated.
Well, we can also go to the Windsurf docs if you want.
Yeah.
So to be maybe.
If you Command K and then just look up Windsurf rules. Yeah. Dot Windsurf rules. Okay, yeah. Top hit.
Top one, okay.
Yeah, so it's not .md. You don't put the MD extension.
Is it
you
not?
can do, okay.
Is it a global MD?
Yeah, no. That's the global rules. I think you want that .windsurf rules on the line below, and you can put that in the root of your repo.
I don't see which line do you mean?
It's right below global rules.md, right where your cursor was, and then there's the line below says .windsurf rules.
Okay.
So if you created that file, you'd be able to tell it something like, hey, when you add global styles, add it to global/index.css. And then you can give it more context, like you are working in an Astro project with, roughly where like we want to follow these conventions and this is the purpose. And then you can also role prompt it a bit of like, you are an expert designer, blah, blah, blah. And a final note, I'm sorry, I'm just very talkative this morning, is I remember when you were talking about V0, you were saying you weren't super impressed with the design. a very which we may have talked about previously on a stream, like some interesting things that came out of the Claude 4 release was that like specific prompting tips for stylistic work, where like telling it to be bold, um, like really leveraged the most of its ability to design interfaces and stuff like that. So there is a prompting element of like, if you in V0, I'd imagine, where if you want something flashy, you just tell it to like cut loose, be bold, blah blah blah. All right, that's
Yeah.
interlude over. Sorry.
No, I was maybe also thinking maybe it's not that I'm not impressed by V0. Maybe I just don't know how to prompt it correctly to give me something that I want. So yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, okay, this would have saved me. But also, I feel I kind of enjoyed not having it because that way I also was forced to go back to the docs for Astro and learn a little
Yeah.
bit more about it. So, in terms of,
Yeah.
I also wanted to use it a little bit to learn more things in Astro. And maybe the final thing I had, or as a learning, also for the linting, I don't know which we used a lot biome. Is that pronounced correctly?
Biome, just biome.
Biome, just biome. Um, with our own stuff in the company. Obviously, I don't know if we use it for our docs now, but yeah, when choosing a linter, I also found that not everything is supported, especially if you like look into the components of an Astro component. The script would be linted with biome, but the whole HTML component not, and there is still a lot of that. So that's why I didn't choose biome, but used then the prettier for
Yeah.
linting the
So
things. And I
we
think that was, yeah,
we
sorry. I
also
think
do
that
that.
was a learning. It was a learning
Yeah.
on my side. So
We only use biome for certain files. And I think, yeah, across uh most of our Astro, we have like 3 different Astro sites. Uh, but we typically ignore certain files with biome and then shell out to prettier. Just because yeah, I don't know. I didn't decide that. I just remember we had a lot of like inconsistency, put it that way, where it actually like biome would reformat in a way that actually broke the UI, or not broke the UI, but made the UI look different. So yeah.
okay. Yeah, nice. But also, like, yeah, I don't know. I like the part when you still use AI and you still learn, like sometimes it
Yeah.
feels so easy to just let get it. Like, sometimes you just let it do and then you might not get into the process. But I feel with this project, I also had the opportunity to learn a little bit more about Astro. Not that much about CSS because it was actually quite good and like, doing the styling for me. But maybe around my architecture and the project and the structure and those elements. I think that was helpful. I removed my screen. Is there anything? Well, I think what you mentioned is when you would start something like that, you would also opt in for a template, but you
Yeah.
would add rules to you use cursor, you would add your cursor rules.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not super great at updating the cursor rules. But it's one of those things where like it's good for the future, right? So like when you stumble across well, also now like a lot of these IDEs have the concept of memory. I'm not sure if Windsurf has that, but you can look at like what it remembers about your session, and it will remember stuff like uh, formatting or stylistic things that you're consistently coaching it on. Um, but a cursor rules file, it would be nice if that were always included in templates. And I kind of wish at some point I was working on that for our Honc templates, but it just it fanned out in complexity because we have uh, 6 different templates, and so each one would
Yes.
need their own cursor rules, and then we would need to select the proper cursor rules file depending on how the person was setting up. So it got a little out of hand, and then I abandoned that. But like a basic thing, it tells it, well, then also like certain things like coding conventions are very specific. So you don't want to default uh, to a certain way of doing things when someone wants to do something differently, I guess. But in this case, like a cursor rules file for something that's like a little I call it like out of distribution for the model, which would be like an Astro site. would just help it understand to not to make more elegant solutions, let's say. But then it is like you have to know ahead of time. You know what I mean? Like
But
it's a chicken
yeah,
and
I
egg
know
thing.
I know. Okay. But yeah, I can also publish the link to the repo. I think it's public anyhow. I don't care. Like if people see how it is built, the website is online. Happy to get feedback on it as well if people have. Also, maybe some people like to join the Web Summer. That would be cool. Whoop. With that, I would say we see us next week.
Yeah, it's done 30 minutes. So yeah.
Solid.
Woo.